Hi, welcome to Real Film Snobs, that effervescent feeling you're feeling. That's me, Brian Michael.
And I'm Angela Yeager. I can't follow that. We have a great show for you this week, as always. We have an adaptation of a beloved novel. We have a hit indie movie to review for you. We have a docudrama, a musical, and two popes. So, you know,
A little bit of
diversity,
everything.
yeah, that's what we're all about. So at the top of the show, you saw a clip for Little Women, and this is the adaptation of Louisa May Alcott's beloved novel. It's about four sisters coming of age in the aftermath of the Civil War, and primarily follows the headstrong, spirited sister named Jo, in this case played by Saoirse Ronan, who previously was in director Greta Gerwig's film Lady Bird. So this is a reuniting of them, as well as many other cast members from that show, including Timothée Chalamet and I was going to say Laura Dern, but she wasn't in Lady Bird, and Tracy Letts.
It's Laurie Metcalf. They look a lot alike. No,
yeah, not really.
Not at all.
So going into this, of course, you know, Greta Gerwig's directorial debut was Lady Bird, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I also enjoyed this film. That said, I am a huge fan.
A huge fan.
Huge fan of the 1990s version of this film. And I've seen all four adaptations, and they all have their strengths. Of course, you know, there's the 30s version with Katharine Hepburn, the later version with Elizabeth Taylor, the 90s version with Winona Ryder and Claire Danes and Susan Sarandon, my personal favorite, and Christian Bale as Laurie. And then this version, which has an all-star cast. You know, the actor I was most impressed with in this version, in part because in previous versions she's been very underwritten, is Florence Pugh, who's been coming off of a lot of star-making performances, including in Midsummer as the daughter Amy. Amy in other adaptations has come off very much like just a spoiled brat, and I think Florence Pugh gave her a nice character, much more rounded. Unfortunately, other folks, including the character of Beth, who has always been the tearjerker in the other movies, just kind of fell by the wayside.
So, you know, with Lady Bird, I like that film. You know, whenever an actor becomes an actor, or actor becomes a director, they usually just kind of point the camera and let the actors do what they do. And it's a fantastic cast, and that film really went on those merits and really went on the strengths of the performance. There's nothing wrong with that, but I always thought, yeah, Greta Gerwig, yeah, director, sure, whatever. The leap from that one to this one is really incredible, and I am so I so enjoyed this film from credits to credits. The beginning, right at the start, I just absolutely loved this film. This is a 4-star film for me, easy.
Oh, wow.
Saoirse Ronan is fantastic as Jo, as you would expect her to be. Florence Pugh, yeah, just stands out. Man, is she really, really good in this. I really enjoyed her performance. And then Timothée Chalamet, you know, just comes in as cute and charming, and I think the guy can pretty much do that in his sleep, and he's so good in this. He has such great chemistry with all of them, and I really enjoyed his character as well. Now, of course, there's a book this is based on. I don't know. I watch movies. I don't read books, so I just wait till this happens. And but Emma Watson was the one that was, I just kind of thought, maybe her hair color was a different, so she didn't stand out, because every time it just kind of pulled me out whenever they showed her.
No, her performance was off.
Just wasn't
her
as strong as everyone
and her
else.
talking, yeah. And that was unfortunate, because she's been very good in the past movies. And so I thought she was the weakest of all the characters.
So the look of this film is absolutely fantastic. Here she gets to work with a fantastic cinematographer. There's a scene on the beach where the sand blows that just ripped my heart out. It was absolutely beautiful. It was so tear-jerking. There's some the way she tells the story, I don't believe it's told the way in the book, the chronological going back and forth,
no,
the flashbacks.
It's not, yeah.
Okay, that is a masterful move. There's one point in time where someone comes down the stairs and gets good news, and then it's juxtaposition next to a different one where in the present day where someone comes down the stairs and gets bad news. That's absolutely beautiful. That happens several times where there's the scenes from the flashback matches that mirrors the one in the present.
I think, though,
I loved the way that was done.
I think,
yes.
See, I think it can work, and I don't mind it as a film mechanism. I think part of the problem is that they look so similar, even though it's supposed to be 7 years. Sometimes I was like, okay, well, which one are we in?
A little bit, well, because you can tell by the hair and whatever.
A little
I didn't
bit,
mind
but
that
I
because
felt like
then
it
what happened in the
was
story.
too subtle.
No, I didn't mind that because when what happened in the story, that was like, oh, okay, yep, here we are. And I liked that because I had to work for it a little bit, and I had to kind of meet the movie a little bit to halfway. Yeah, I just thought that this was so. She really took the command in terms of directing this. This feels like a film that was directed by somebody instead of just pointing the camera and letting the performances take over. The look.
Well, yeah, the shot design and
just
composition
gorgeous.
in the house and outside, and yeah, the set design and cinematography in her, and that's all. To say that Greta Gerwig did a fantastic job directing the movie. I just had little quibbles with the performances, and I probably, if I hadn't seen the 90s version, but I can't say that I haven't.
Winona Ryder? Really?
Oh, I loved her as Jo, but
Okay.
the characters of Meg and Beth especially, Claire Danes can do ugly crying like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, no, one of the
And
great
she's-
all-time ugly criers.
Yeah,
ever.
and she cries,
Hands
and
down.
so I was waiting for Beth's big scene in this movie, and then it never came. And I think in a way that was a smart move because she can't compete in terms of the big tear-jerking deathbed scene or whatever. And sorry if I'm ruining it, but the novel's been out for like 100 years, so
I think this is. I think it's. So, what are you thinking? Three
and a
stars?
half, three and a half,
stars?
three and a half.
Oh, see, I think it's a 4-star. We'll be talking about this movie again when we talk about the best of the year. I absolutely loved this movie.
Oh, so definitely top 10 for you.
Oh
then,
yeah. I was.
Yeah.
I did. I
So you
thoroughly
agree
enjoyed
that
the
Greta
movie.
Gerwig was dissed then for not being nominated for her direction, for director?
For the Oscars? What has she not been nominated for?
Well,
yet?
the Directors
You're already
Guild.
upset. You're already mad.
No, I'm just saying the Directors Guild just announced to the people that they're going to submit
Yeah.
for the Oscars, and she wasn't included. So
Yeah, that's too bad. That's a
because I think this film is very well directed. Yeah,
extremely
so,
well directed. Which again makes me mad because she got all the props for
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird,
Which I
and it
think
was
was
like
a more
no.
personal story, but I don't think the direction was amazing.
Yeah.
I think that one was more about the writing and those great performances, like you mentioned. So, okay, so we'll move on to our next movie. We don't have a clip for you for this one, and this is Uncut Gems, in which a New York City jeweler, played by Adam Sandler, makes a series of high-stake bets, sending him into a series of bad encounters. Now, when I said Adam Sandler, I made a little bit of a face. You might have noticed because we are not fans of Adam Sandler here on Real Film Snobs. However, this is not an Adam Sandler film. This is a Safdie brothers film. Yeah. And that is important to know. And if you're at home going, who are the Safdie brothers? Look them up. They are very acclaimed, high rising. I mean, they are rising very quickly in the film world. Mostly I wouldn't say mostly, all the films they've done have been indie films. They're like, the Coen brothers when they're first starting out type of thing. And they have done some really good films in the past, very interesting films. They like to experiment. They like to take chances, and you definitely see that on screen in this film. Adam Sandler's character is supposed to be really unlikable. So you are going into a movie where the protagonist is very unlikable, and I think he does a really great job at playing this character. I think the film we just talked about Greta Gerwig and amazing direction. This film is so well directed, so beautifully shot, and so well written. Yeah. It is a high tension movie. It does not let up for 2 hours straight. And the few times I actually grabbed your jacket or your shirt and put my eyes into it because I was so nervous, like a horror movie, but it's not a horror movie, because I was just like, it's so hard to watch people make bad choices.
Continually. I mean, this is a day in the life of somebody, well, not necessarily a day, but a moment in time in someone's life where you just see them continually making tough
it's
or
like
bad
watching
decisions.
them circling the drain.
And just, it's something like The Gambler, was a movie that kind of came to mind. And with the editing in this is done very well as well.
Amazing.
But there were so many different scenes that are extremely tense. So tense movies, and I've already spoken with somebody at the gym that walked out of this film because he was like, nope, couldn't do it. And I couldn't like the character, and I couldn't get into the film because it was driving me crazy. And I was like, I completely
And we
understand.
saw people walk out. Yeah.
Especially when they have a door, there's a magnetic strip on the door, and there's a scene with that's just 2 times they use it, and they milk it for every
It's so
ounce
well edited, though.
that you
That's
possibly
part of
could.
the editing,
And I love that. There's also Julia Fox, a supporting actress in this movie that I thought was incredible. Every time she came on the screen, I just watched her because I loved her interactions with Adam Sandler, who does a good job. And I think that this is a very good job for him. But
we'll talk about faint praise.
Because, well, no, he does. It's a very good job, but it's such an incredibly well written part, and it's so well directed. I don't give him a lot of credit. Like you said, it's not an Adam Sandler film; it's a Safdie brothers film, and because of his previous crimes against humanity with all of his films, I don't, I've liked him before, and 4 of his 75 whatever credits that are, that he's done. But I loved her performance. I love Kevin Garnett. I love that there was some basketball in the movie. That made me
playing
really
himself,
happy.
but actually playing a character too.
Especially when they're
playing a character version of himself.
Let's go back to 2012, and Angela's like, "Oh my God, this is stressing me out." I'm like, "I know who wins this game, so I'm good."
You're an NBA guy.
I had a little bit. You're like, "But it's not the Blazers." I'm like, "It's the NBA. I watched all 29. There's 30 teams there, but
it's quite a few years ago. It's amazing you remembered it, but I guess it was a big game.
There are certain games you remember.
Yeah, it's a famous
teams.
game, I guess.
But well, it wasn't a famous game, but I know who they. I know the playoffs and what bracket. Not to give anything away there, but yeah, they play that really well. Yeah, there's just, but I mean, it's just certainly a grind. I mean, at the end of the movie, you have a big, huge. You're exhausted and you have a big, huge exhale because it's finally over. And it's not surprising, though it's a shocking ending. And you're like, yeah.
This film is so cinematic, though. The music, the energy, I felt weirdly, even though it's sort of a bad ending in a way, or you could say a tragic, I felt invigorated by it. I felt excited, like, oh, here are filmmakers out there taking chances, giving us something that we haven't seen before. And yes, some people might walk out. It might be too much for them, anxiety-ridden, whatever. And I know that you disagree with this, but I think Adam Sandler is a perfect person to play this character, because he has to be. On one hand, you can't take your eyes off.
Making bad decisions in his life.
Making bad decisions in his life.
Something that Adam Sandler does very well.
But on one hand, you can't take your eyes off him, because Adam Sandler, good or bad, mostly bad, as we've discussed, is a movie star. So he has a certain thing that pulls you in. Sure. But he has to be he's so despicable. And there's a scene where his wife, played by, oh gosh, and I didn't write her name, but
I'm not going to try.
She has this scene with him where she tells him off, and she tells him what she really thinks of him, and really harsh words. And you would feel sorry for anyone else, but he's just standing there with this look on his face, like showing that he doesn't get it, truly doesn't get why his wife hates him so much. And she says everything you were thinking at that moment. I just thought it was, and everyone in this movie brought their A game. She's also fantastic. Keith Stanfield, who I love, is also really good as the runner kind of for him, who brings in the high-end clients. I mean, everything is just, so this is a 4-star for me.
Oh yeah,
for me.
Easy.
And wow, there's only like a few Adam Sandler movies I can say that about. It's either like 4 stars or 0 stars with that guy. It's like literally. So anyway,
4 stars.
Are you giving it 4 or 3.5?
Okay, 4. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next film, which is Bombshell. Let's take a look at the clip right now. Okay, so that was a clip from Bombshell, which stars Charlize Theron somewhere in there, Nicole Kidman, and Margot Robbie. This is a docudrama that was based on a true story of the sexual harassment that happened at Fox News behind the scenes with Roger Ailes. And the first thing I got to say when I saw the trailer for this, I thought, oh, how interesting. Why is Megyn Kelly can act? This is fantastic. Wow, I didn't know she could act. And who's someone who's playing her? And then I looked up and it was Charlize Theron. I'm like, wait, who? And then you see the movie and go, I don't see her. Where? And
her voice.
One time,
it's Charlize Theron's voice.
Her voice, I went, oh, there, okay. And one angle, I went, oh, there she is, a little bit there. This is a transformation, and I literally mean a transformation into Megyn Kelly. If you're familiar with her, looks just like her and sounds just like her, and is absolutely amazing, and almost kind of pulls me out of the movie, because I kept looking at her going, how did they do it? How is she different? Can we put a picture of the next one another? And then Nicole Kidman, who's fine, but I'm not familiar with that character and what had happened with her, so I had to actually watch that. And then Margot Robbie, who plays a composite of different characters and different stories that are brought in there, as 3 very attractive women who are sexually harassed at Fox News. This is another film that, when Vice did really well or The Big Short did really well, Hollywood goes, oh, we'll make something like that and release it at the same time of the year, and we'll make it Oscar bait and we'll push it through. And this is a good movie. It's directed by Jay Roach, who's known for his comedies, like the Austin Power films, and does a fine job of it. It's a good movie, and I didn't do anything that was over the top, or I went, wow, or tell the story in a different way. It was pretty much just straight ahead, straightforward. And there's your story, and there we go.
It's not like The Big Short where you not only learn something, but
Yeah.
you're entertained. And, you know, I remember in that one going, oh my gosh, these jerks, I can't believe they're getting, you know, you got really invested in it.
Yes.
And this one I felt much more removed from the material, which is odd because of the subject matter. You would think, you know, as a woman or whatever, that you'd be very feeling like huge empathy. I think partially it's because women that work for Fox News and some of them, it's like, they kind of know
Perpetuate a lot of
they're
horrible,
perpetuating
ugliness
some
things.
horrible
It's-
stuff, and
yeah.
there's that. And you know, you didn't find the makeup distracting at all, because that's one thing I kept thinking is like, was it necessary? Number one, is Megyn Kelly such a famous person that everyone is going to be like, oh, Charlize Theron doesn't look anything like her. I mean, I think about Anthony Hopkins playing Nixon.
Exactly.
You know, he doesn't look anything like him, but he
Exactly.
embodied the spirit. And she's not so well known in terms of her face that people go, oh, well, Charlize Theron, you know, she's blonde and
Yeah,
tall and thin,
yeah.
but she doesn't look anything like her. I
Yeah.
don't know. So if that was necessary. That said, she is great. I actually thought Margot Robbie was the character that I liked the best. And she
Yeah.
plays that composite character, but she's kind of the heart of the movie.
She is.
Because she's a true believer. She comes in, she loves Fox News. And even though from our perspective today that may or may not seem, you know, sort of unsettling, she's a true believer. And she
Yeah.
has horrible things happen to her that really kind of bring her down. And you see that pain that she's going through. And that, to me, she was kind of the heart of the movie. So, and John Lithgow is almost unrecognizable. Speaking of unrecognizable, as
Makeup
Roger
job, it was
Ailes.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, they did some, very impressive
Well, you
makeup
can't
in this
see
film.
a lot of, you can't see the seams in there. But even like, you know, the movie like Vice, which I liked as well, but at least Vice, you know, they kind of turned some storytelling. I mean, they showed the credits for the movie halfway through it. They did all kinds of different things to tell, you know, to have fun with it and tell
Yeah,
stories.
this is
and
very
they-
kind of straightforward.
It's hard when you're trying to make a comedy about people who may feel that they do despicable things or despicable things are happening and they're trying to make it somewhat into a comedy. Well, was it a comedy? I don't know. It's kind of hard.
It wasn't
kinda
that
tell.
funny.
Yeah, because it's a comedic director. You kind
I
of
think I
that
maybe
it was
chuckled a few times to myself,
yeah.
but I don't remember it being like super funny.
pretty much
yeah.
straightforward there. It's a good movie. I mean, it's a 3-star film. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can really say other than Charlize Theron was pretty fantastic, but maybe the transformation was a little too much and could have been a little bit distracting in a way that, you know,
Yeah, because there's a few times I just found myself looking at her rather than really watching the performance,
Paying
because I
attention,
kept
yeah.
looking for Charlize under the makeup, or kind of, oh yeah, I hear her voice here, but oh, what's that weird? I don't know. It was just, I sometimes I think makeup can be done too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a fine film and worth seeing. I'm giving it 3 stars. I just didn't
Yeah.
love it. So
Yeah, okay, I think there could have been some more there, whichever. But, I mean, 3 great talents there that I wish I could have seen done a little bit more. Speaking of talents, I wish we could do a little bit more. We have an extra treat for you this week here, guys. I'm going to do a solo review of a musical that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Cats, and they actually released a movie. Few of you may have seen, and so did I. So let's take a look at the clip, and we'll get to the review. Oh boy, I really recommend finding the other clips that you can find of this movie and watch them once you've heard my review. There are certain films that Angela and I were like, nope, no way in heck are we ever going to do this. And I told a friend, you know, I would watch something like that. Or a friend of mine, we talked about doing something inebriated, and he was like, hey, let's watch that movie and do that. So I'm going to give a review of the film, but I'm going to put an asterisk by it because I wasn't quite in my level-headed mind, which, by the way, helped. So Cats, it's about a bunch of cats, and one shows up. I forget how it gets
I already
there.
love this plot surmise.
And all of a sudden they're telling it to be a Jericho cat or a Jellico cat
It's
or
Jellico,
it is
I
something.
think.
I have no idea what that means, and they sang for that for like ever. And I had no idea what was going on. And then the cat goes somewhere else, and then someone else sings about what kind of cat they are, and the song went on forever. So long. And then I still have no idea what was going on. And then Judi Dench showed up, and it gives me nightmares to think about the way she looked like a cutout, you know, like you do like at a fair where you stick your face in. It looked like that bad, and she would just kept just looking at someone like this. And then she sat on her side and kicked up her leg. That's not, it's Dame Judi Dench. That's really not the way you want to ever picture her. And then Idris Elba shows up, and of course they have him all decked out, and he's dressed for whatever reasons. Judi Dench had like a fur coat on, literally, and then he had a fur coat on, and he had a hat. And then halfway through the movie, he took his clothes off, and my thought was, Idris Elba's naked. Call Angela. Wait, he's not naked. There's no parts, but that's fine because I don't want to see those. But it was weird because he was dressed all the way through halfway through the movie, and then all of a sudden he took his clothes off. So I'm like, so now he's running around naked, It's really, really confusing. So the thing about the movie is that you can't get past is that the worst special effects I've ever seen, because they kept doing close-ups. And so what would happen is they would have like a whisker, and I'm sorry for people on radio that can't see this. So they have a whisker, and it would actually move along with their upper lip when they would talk, and then they stopped talking, and the whisker kept going. And the state that I was in, it really freaked me out, and I turned to my friend and went, oh my God, did the whiskers still go? And he was like, yeah, that's really, really bad. And it was a major close-up on a person, which they kept doing. And they've shaved the people's faces to where they're really unnatural formed. And so every time you look at them, like, what happened to the jawbone? How does this work? What's going on here? And then they have ears, and then the ears would go back when they were happy or they were sad, and they were very expressive. And then they turned their head, and then the ears would catch up with their head.
Later,
and it was delayed, and I went, and I turned to my friend, oh my God, are the ears moving? And why is the song going on for so long? And he was like, the ears aren't moving with them. Who approved this, and why haven't they finished this film? And there are some amazing, I think Jennifer Hudson's in it, and she's an amazing singer, and she's an amazing actress. Why would they do this to her? Why would they do this to Dame Judi Dench? Why would they do this
Ian
to Idris
McKellen
Elba?
is in it, right?
Why would they?
Sir Ian McKellen?
Oh God, that's right. He is in this
There's two
bad.
British royal knighted people.
He warbles
in this
through
movie.
a few songs.
Sir
That
Ian
sounds like
McKellen.
a hairball's coming up. That was really bad. The songs were so long. It just went on forever. I had no idea what was going on. And then they were like, "This is the chosen cat," and she was singing and sang the big song that everyone knows. I don't know any of the other songs, even the Taylor Swift. I'm so sorry. She was in this movie. And then they put her in a balloon and they kill her. She floats off into nothing, which I was like, did they just kill her? I thought she was the chosen cat. Don't they have 9 lives? I have no idea what was going on in this movie. It really, really freaked me out. It's terrible. You can't not get past these horrible special effects. And then they would have people, they're supposed to be dancing on a railroad track, and they're so small, and then when they would stand still, they would shimmy because the special effects were so bad, and the lighting behind them was never quite right. I mean, it just looked like a weatherman standing in front of the map. It looked like that bad. It was, I don't know what the budget of this film was. 120 million, I think is what the budget is. It's not enough.
Do some special effects. It's not enough.
They just had
they
Thanos
another
look
120.
really real on other worlds. Why can't they make people look like cats? I don't know why. It would have just been better if they'd have just bought like a cat suit and just had their human hands with the feet showing, and then just draw whiskers.
Didn't they leave the human hands and the feet on?
I
read several reviews that mentioned that it freaked them out that they would pull at their hands and then they had regular hands, human hands.
I was really freaked out.
Why would cats have human hands and not paws?
It was so bad.
Like they just didn't finish the hands. And then in an interview with Tom Hooper, the director, someone asked him, well, why do they have human hands? And he couldn't answer the question.
Tom Hooper is
he didn't know why.
A director I like. I'm a fan of his films. And this is just, an epic fall on your face. So bad.
I was trying to think, is there
and
been
they kept
a film?
doing close-ups, Angela. That was the thing. Had bad special effects, and they're zooming right in the face. It was like, all I can do is this. They could have been like, Brian, here's the winning lottery numbers for next week. And I've been like, oh my God, the special effects are so bad. This is so bad. And they kept, every time they did it, you just took shit out of the movie.
I was trying to think, what was the last time a movie, a mainstream movie, not one that, was an underground cult movie, of this magnitude had so bad on the technical side, because that's one thing Hollywood does right. They might mangle the story to pieces, right? The screenplay might be just complete hokum, but then usually they can get the technical part right, the special effects. That's the only thing often they can get right. So it's baffling in that way. Yeah, it almost makes me want to see it. Not enough.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe after. Don't do it so
later. Yeah. So 1 star, 0 stars. How do you rate a movie like that?
About that? I don't know if I can review that because I wasn't in my right mind. Does that count? I don't know. I wasn't.
1 paw, 2 paws.
Finger. How many fingers?
How many fingers?
Paws? Okay. So our next movie is what? Is this called Cut Gems or Uncut Gems? Haha. Never mind. It's a joke. You'll get it in a minute.
Okay. You totally took me out there. It's like, okay, we're moving on to our next movie. Because I'm like, I thought I was introducing the next movie. The next movie is The Two Popes. And this is about Pope Benedict and the future Pope Francis having a meeting of the minds to discuss the future of the Catholic Church. It's directed by Fernando Meirelles, which I want to mention because really terrific director who I hadn't seen anything from in a while. He did City of God and Constant Gardener.
Yeah.
So,
right?
Yeah. So, and I was like, ooh, so I was kind of interested in going into this, and it got nominated for a bunch of Golden Globes inexplicably. I hadn't heard a lot about it. Sure. I don't know if it's the power of Netflix or what. It's got some good performances. Yes. Jonathan Pryce is playing Pope Francis. Anthony Hopkins, of course, always solid playing Pope Benedict. And it's exactly what I just described. They are talking about the future of the Catholic Church. Some of the conversation is interesting, some is less interesting, but I just found it really hard to get invested in this movie.
You know, here we're talking about Anthony Hopkins. We had mentioned him earlier, and he just kind of transforms. And so does Jonathan Pryce, right before your eyes. And they both just look like the popes. And
they didn't do it with any makeup.
Yeah, and I love the chemistry between the both of them. I could sit there and listen. They could have just sat and talked about coffee.
Yeah, it was pleasant. They had a good, interesting.
There's some
dynamic.
there's some bigger pictures, and they talk about with them the political aspect. There's flashbacks, which I really didn't want to. I didn't need. I would have just loved to have the conversation between these two. If this was based on a stage play, I would I would totally watch this because I absolutely love what both of them are able to do and what they do with one another. They have fantastic chemistry. I really want to make a gay joke because they're Catholic, but anyway. I could sit there and watch their conversations back and forth, and the way they talk about the times are changing, and they just have a great repertoire. I mean, I could watch this with my mom. Right. I could watch this with my mom. My mom would
I
love
did
this
watch
movie.
this with my mom.
So you watched it with my mom, and I was like, oh.
No, I watched it with my mom
freaking me out.
and my dad. But it's getting at some Pope Benedict is a tradition. Has a very conservative view of the church. In his mind, it'd be great if they went back to Latin. Pope Francis has a much more, communitarian. Yeah. We need to bring the people in. We need to.
When he makes his announcement in Latin, I just thought that was absolutely hilarious because some people were like, "Wait, what did he say?"
Right. So I thought it was a nice philosophical banter. I just don't see all the rigmarole about this one for awards season when there's so many better movies this year.
Sure, but it's good.
Yeah,
it's really the Golden Globes, Angela. They
Two
got stars
old
in their
dudes
eyes.
talking in robes,
But if they, buy them watches or show up for pictures, they'll get nominated for anything.
Yeah,
we'll see. Stones gets
nominated. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't get the Oscars. We'll find out. So, to recap really quickly, because we went over Little Women. Brian gives 4 stars. I also highly recommend Uncut Gems. We both give 4 stars. That's our big agreement this week. Bombshell, we recommend. Cats, Brian cannot recommend, at least not in the state he was in when we watched it, and Two Popes we can recommend. As always, go to our website at realfilmsnobs.com. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. We can always find us here on CCTV in Salem, Scan TV in Silverton, Corvallis Access Media. And as always, I'd like to thank our fantastic crew, our wonderful sponsors, my handsome and talented co-host. Have a great day and great movies. Thank you.
Time.